Welcome to another Monday session with the Investment Dominator. And today's session is going to be all about bringing you up to date and up to speed to get everything that you need done with the Investment Dominator. And with these regards, we like to bring up the big three. So if you're new to these calls, you might be interested as to what the big three is. Well, tonight we're going to be going over your profile section, your company information section, as well as your domain section. So we're going to go ahead and show you the setup process for all of that tonight. And my name is Dominic, so I work as IT support, and we're gonna go ahead and basically get everybody up to date. And our Monday calls are generated for beginners, so you just want to keep that in mind. We do have a way for you to send in your questions, which you'll kind of see here right on your screen. You can go ahead and say hello in the chat, or if you can hear my voice. If I'm too low or too high, just let me know, and I'll adjust my volume settings as needed. But if you want to go ahead and type in a question, you can go ahead and do that just by clicking on the questions panel, and then just writing in your question for the staff. And just keep in mind that if you are raising your hand, I'm not going to be looking at that really. So just go ahead and submit your questions. So you'll see here that all tonight, right after we go over our big three, we're gonna have a open discussion and just basically discuss some questions that you may have. And we're going to, make sure that tonight we go over the beginner questions only, as our Thursday calls are for more advanced sessions. So just keep that in mind. See, we have some people saying hello right now. So hello, everybody. As far as the LPG deal flow goes, what you want to keep in mind is this is going to be transparent through everything Investment Dominator. And so, you can see here, you select a target market, you get a contact list of landowners. After you filter that list, then you'll be able to mail your letters, do some research, make some offers, and then, market some properties. And eventually, the end goal is to get paid. So just keep that in mind. But as you can see here with this chart, you have your company information, county data, offer request, property details. So all this stuff on the left-hand side is being inputted into the Investment Dominator. And what you're actually able to output is some letters, offers, websites, calculators, and tools, and analytics, as well as some team management. So, some great stuff coming out of this. But tonight, really, like we said, the main focus is going to completely be on just setting you up and getting your Investment Dominator up to speed. So let's go ahead and go over this process. What we're going to go ahead and do first is actually just log into the Investment Dominator. And you'll see here, this is kind of a screen that'll pop up right when you log in. So you'll notice that you have a kind of like a tour guide, which will direct you to some features that are involved with the Investment Dominator. And at any time at all, you can go ahead and actually end that tour. But just keep in mind that tour is very helpful for understanding the land tab over here, the houses tab, marketing notes, and then you have your tasks, your customize, your websites, and team and profile. So some great things that are just kind of in the works, and we're going to go ahead and actually just look at this profile section first. So when you come over here to the profile section, you'll notice just some fields here which can be entered. For instance, your first name, your last name, and an email to best reach you at. Do keep in mind that this information on this profile section is not for any third-party marketing purposes. This is actually for IT support, so that we can best contact you. So, leave the best email here, and as well as the best phone number to reach you at. And don't forget your time zone as well. So once you have all of your ducks in a row with this, then you're gonna go ahead and look over here towards our signature image. And a question that we get a lot is, what is the signature image used for? So there are documents within the Investment Dominator which you can actually send off, and it'll look real professional because whether it be an actual signature, which you can do right here, you can upload a signature image, or we have a generate signature option here as well too, in case if you didn't have any images. But let's go ahead and actually do the generate signature method first. So we'll go ahead and click it, and you'll notice it'll basically open a new window and it'll prompt you to enter your name. So I'll go ahead and enter my name, and then it'll go ahead to let you choose a font. So you could choose any of these available fonts here. One thing you want to keep in mind is that we don't have any out of any fonts that are not available here. We wouldn't really have access to changing that, so do keep in mind, but we have some nice options here. And of course, you can actually choose a color in case if you wanted to, let's say, make it blue, for instance, make it pop more. Well, I think it would look maybe a little different if I did that font. Let's go ahead and see this. Something like that. So just keep in mind that if you do add a additional color to your font that you're picking down here, it's going to result in more fees for your mailing. So just kind of keep that in mind. But it does look pretty as blue here. So once we're done, you can either download your image or insert signature. Let's go ahead and insert this. And you'll actually notice that I had a signature which took place before. And now our new signature is kind of up here floating. So in order to change that, one thing you want to keep in mind, especially when working with the Investment Dominator, is that you actually want to update every time you make pretty big changes. So for this instance, we generated a signature, which is going to affect our profile a lot. So let's go ahead and update. And then you'll notice that our new signature, which we just generated, takes precedence now. So just keep that in mind. So the next option that you would have as well is to just upload a signature image. So if we want to go ahead and find a signature image that we can work with, let's go to our desktop here. I believe I do have a signature. So for instance, this sample signature, you'll notice that it props up right here on our screen. So you do have the option to crop your photo. Now, one thing I will say is that you want to do some testing to make sure that this is the exact crop that you want. But for instance, let's go ahead and leave some extra space out and we'll capture this whole image here. So let's go ahead and confirm these changes. And you'll notice our new signature takes place like this. And our old signature is now at the bottom. And always remember, go ahead and hit that update button and it'll catch us up to speed. So our new signature is now created and uploaded. So two different options for kind of what you can do. And you know, we're saving questions for later. So if you guys want to see this in action and see that signature and that neutral letter, we can actually go ahead and take a look at that later if you guys want. But finishing out the profile section here, we just have a option where you can change your password. So do keep that in mind. If you need to change your password for your account, you can come here. And then that enable Tor option that we discussed before is right here. So you could actually go ahead and turn that off or keep it on if you still want. I'm going to go ahead and hit no. Then remember, any changes that we're making, go ahead and update your site. So that's great. So that's the profile section here. And there's another section right down below that you may notice, API. So, you know, Investment Dominator is working with a lot of new services, and we do hope to see some new things coming to the Investment Dominator. And you know, with that being said, sometimes when you have to connect your apps, you may need to dive into this section. So we have our user guide, which is filled with tons of information about that, and we can go over that right after this call. But so the next section, this was our first item of the big three. Again, this is our profile section, and the next section is going to be the second item of our big three, which is our company information section. And I will say this section will be heavy on a lot of information. So do be prepared either to take notes or to just kind of, you know, keep focused. But at the same time, do know that these sessions are all recorded, and right after we're done, we can actually go ahead and kind of show exactly where you can find these recordings as well as see any previous recordings that we've done as well. But all right, so let's go ahead and dive into the customize section. And right up here, you're actually going to see company information. And this is exactly what we're going to be working on. So again, big section here. But one thing I would like to highlight is 3 phone numbers, and specifically the phone system that's involved with the Investment Dominator. that's going to need some extra explaining. So I'll kind of reference these numbers, but we're going to go into greater detail right after we finish all the fields here. So just for instance, we have our company phone. So our company phone's a big thing. And then we go down here to our offer phone and our selling side phone. So again, let's just actually dive into everything, and then we'll break it apart afterwards. So our company phone here, you can see that we have a number 510-555-4545. So that's kind of what you would just leave, and this extra information is for demonstration purposes. So just keep that in mind, but this number we actually have as our extension 1. So this extension 1 leads to a service such as Pat Live or Smith AI, and this service is a 24-hour call center. So they're basically able to they can take in and process your new offer requests, and this can be done on a 24-hour basis, like we said. And just kind of keep in mind, both of these are options, but right now we recommend using Pat Live. So again, we'll break that down further, but let's go ahead and proceed for now. So we have our company fax number, and right here I just have not available. Not really too often do you see a company fax number, but if you actually do have one, you can go ahead and actually paste that there. But you know, the rate is faxing rather than mailing and stuff. You might not see that many opportunities for this number. But right here we have our company email, and this is going to be dedicated for everything that's coming into your Investment Dominator, so just kind of keep that in mind. And you'll see here, used for your Contact Us page and system notifications. So one thing I also want to highlight is the useful tips that are actually going to be filled up with the Investment Dominator. So for instance, you'll see here and down below as well, these question marks will just give you helpful tips about certain items, which either, you know, has additional information, or you might notice that when you're trying to generate your documents, that there will be helpful tips for this as well. But nonetheless, your company email will be provided here, and then you'll have your company name. So a couple things about the company name. One thing you want to keep in mind is that where you are right now, you're going to want to go ahead and begin the process to getting your LLC, which if you don't already have that, then there's another option that you can do. But if you have your LLC name, you can actually just put that right there and put an LLC like that, and it'll look good. But if you don't have your company name yet, and you're definitely in the process of, you know, going to do it, there's a temporary solution that you can do. So this temporary solution consists of putting these letters right here, so DBA, meaning doing business as, and then putting a dash and then your name. So these are the two options that you can do for your company name, but do keep in mind this doing business as is a temporary solution, because at the end of the day, you're going to be going ahead to work on getting your LLC. So just kind of keep that in mind. The next section that we're going to go over here is our company address. So regarding the company address, we understand there's a lot of people working remotely, or working from home. One thing that you don't want to do, though, is actually put your home address under this company address field right here. And the reason being, you know, when you're sending out mailings and let's say there's a potential angry person on the other side, you wouldn't want this person to have your actual house, you know, and you wouldn't want to just put yourself at risk kind of there. So the next question that follows up with that is, well, what do I do if I, you know, don't use my actual company name? I mean, sorry, company address. Well, what we recommend, which is the next option, is to actually go to the UPS store and to get a box over there. And when you're going to go ahead and do that, one thing you want to keep in mind is you don't want to have something like this listed under your company address. You don't want to potentially deter people from looking at your mailings because they're definitely going to be looking at where the letter came from. So just keep in mind, you could put the actual address of the UPS store, and when it gets sent there, it'll just direct to your mailbox. And this is the best method that we kind of see revolving around this, or recommended that we should say. But following that, you would go ahead and work through your company city. So where your city is located for your business, or where that UPS store is, the state, and then the zip code. And then again, we have our offer phone here. But one thing you'll notice about our offer phone and our company phone is actually that they have the same number. So 510-555-4545. But this time, our company phone was directing to an extension 1. This extension 1 links to Pat Live, which is a 24-hour call center. But our extension 2, which is the same exact number, this points to a Google Voice or a Skype number. And, reason being, we're going to explain that in a little bit. So next section is your offer email. So regarding any offers that are coming in, this can be processed to a separate email altogether, and alongside with this selling site email here as well. You'll kind of notice on my screen, though, I have the offer email as well as the selling site email blank, but I do have my company email filled out. So just a helpful tip with that, when you're working with the Investment Dominator, if you actually have these fields empty, the emails from your selling site as well as your offer email, it will actually direct just to your company email. So do keep that in mind. If you are having trouble with organization in this matter, then this may be a helpful solution to you. But if not, then you can go ahead and just process different emails for your offers, as well as another email for your selling site. So do keep that in mind. The next section is a company time zone, which you can provide when your company can be best reached by. And this is not only in regards for your extension 1, but this is just any regards for your business at all. And one thing you'll notice here too is another section. You could put company notes. Anything that you want to go ahead and inform the potential user that'll be either trying to contact you or trying to make an offer or something of that sort. Then a little helpful tip. So for instance, I have here Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. kind of like hours of operation. So you might find that useful there. So next, we have real estate agent and broker disclosure. So if you are a real estate agent or a broker, then you're actually going to need to disclose that information. There's some legal implications when working with selling land, so you'll kind of keep that in mind, and this short message will need to be printed out as well. Depending on your state, you may have to add or take away from this, but just keep in mind, you would kind of know that. So again, if you are a real estate agent or a broker, then you would have to select yes. Since we are not, we'll go ahead and hit no. Next, we have the section here for tax ID type. You'll notice tax ID type has 3 fields, your SSN, TIN number, as well as your EIN, which I believe is your employee identification number. So either of these fields can be selected, but you do want to keep in mind, this is kind of where you would also enter your number, but you don't need to put this in directly when you just start out with the Investment Dominator. This is for tax purposes only. So when you're going to fill these out, when you are working with active loans and you're using a 1098 form, which gets sent to the IRS, you'll need to actually, in order to generate those documents within the Investment Dominator, you'll need to provide either of these numbers, and that'll be printed out on all of your official documents. So do keep that in mind. That's only needed if you are working within this section, but if you are not, you actually do not need to enter any of these numbers here. So just keep that in mind. So now that we kind of went over everything within the company information section, I want to take the following time to then talk about our phone system recommendation. And our phone system that which we recommend getting is Ring Central. So let's go over this here. So RingCentral provides a phone service, and with them, we actually have a recommended phone setup. And this setup is geared towards a cheaper option, so do keep that in mind. You have RingCentral here, which is providing two numbers. So this is why it's called our recommended phone setup for two lines. So our local number one, which we kind of saw before, is directing into a extension 1 and an extension 2. So when this is done, this is branching from the same number. So this is why this route becomes out cheaper. And you'll kind of see that here, that extension 1 and that extension 2 that we were talking about. So your extension 1 is actually going to completely go to Pat Live, which is a separate service. So RingCentral is a separate subscription service, as well as Pat Live. This is a separate service. But this extension 1 is going to be dedicated to Pat Live, who are going to be processing your offer request. We could go into more detail after this, after we finish the main bulk of this call. But basically, 24-hour call center, they're going to be able to process your request. And then next, on your local number 1, you have an extension 2. This extension 2 is going to be geared more towards people who have questions about your offers. So this number is going to be needed to basically reach you, but you, not your Pat Live representative. So for instance, we have here a Google Voice or Skype number that this extension 2 can be pointed to. So with that being said, then you have your other number, which is provided, your local number 2. But you'll notice this is different than our local number 1. There's no extension either. This is because our local number 2 is completely dedicated to our questions about land for sale. So this number, you'll notice, is just a regular number here. This number needs to be dedicated to your selling site phone. And we say that because, people are going to be talking about pennies on the dollar, and they're going to be wanting to buy your property. So you want to make this a number where you could be best reached at, best available at, where you're guaranteed to pick that up, because you don't want to miss that call. So that's why that local number 2 is a separate number altogether. And you'll see here, again, this is our cheaper option, the 2-line option. You'll see here our recommended phone setup for 3 lines. Instead of having your local number 1 basically branching off into 2 numbers, our 3-line setup is local number 1, which is completely dedicated to that Pat Live number. Local number 2, completely dedicated to people about questions about our offer for sale, about our offers. And then our local number 3, completely dedicated for questions about our land for sale. So this route is the more expensive option. In terms of moving up your business, we have seen a lot of success branching from this to this. But again, this is our beginner setup, which we recommend here, our 2-line setup. Again, when you are talking to the RingCentral representative about this, you're going to want to be very firm about this extension 1 and extension 2, just to make sure there are no caveats or things that can get in the way with that. But yeah, so that's our recommended phone setup, and you'll see that will complete us on our company information. So now the next section and the last item of our big 3 is actually working through domains. And this section is super helpful just for people who are, confused about getting their websites up to date, and, they want to make sure that everything is going well. But one thing I can say when working with your websites is if you can get your buying site down, you can get your selling site down. The process is the same exact for both. But one thing you want to keep in mind is you need a separate domain for your buying site, and you need a separate domain for your selling site. So altogether, you need 2 domains. This is important because we're about to walk into our guide here, which will go over our example. We have an account with GoDaddy here, and that is an option that we recommend. And if you go ahead and actually see at the top right, you'll see a help button. Click on that help button and you'll see a user guide section here. So within this user guide, actually go ahead and type in the letters domain, just like that. And when you search our user guide, it'll bring you to all these articles here, which you could kind of go over this information. But this first article, how to configure your website's domain, this is what we're going to be using in order to get this figured out. So right off the start, you'll see that when you even look at your domains, you're going to have something along the lines of this. And you don't want to send that to a potential owner. So, you definitely would not want to send them this. So the whole process of going ahead to get your domain, you want to keep in mind, again, that the main basis of this article and the main bulk of what we're doing right now is that you have to point your CNAME record to the Investment Dominator. So no matter if you're using GoDaddy, if you're using Namecheap, or any other domain provider, this primary basis is going to be needed to connect Investment Dominator and our services to your domain. So just kind of keep that in mind. Right off the bat, you'll see on this article, it'll walk you through step by step on how to do this. So you're going to need a GoDaddy account, and I do believe that domains are still going for about $11, so 2 domains should run you about 22. This is before taxes, I would think, but just kind of keep that in mind. So we have here, if we're following along with this GoDaddy article, we're going to just want to go to the My Product section here, and we're right there now. So we'll just double click that just to be sure. Yep, My Products. And then we'll come back to our article. And then you'll see here, scroll down below and you should see domain products. You should see a manage button next to the domain you want to configure. So let's scroll down, and right here we'll see that manage button, and this is the domain we want to configure. So here I'm working with my selling site, and my selling site name is lotsofcashoffers.com. Keep in mind that when you're working with your buying and your selling site can be a less pretty domain, such as joebuysdirt.com, but your selling site, where you're going to have your land listed, what you're selling, you're going to want to have a prettier name. So for instance, lotsofcashoffers.com is the example we're going with. So you could go ahead and click manage, and that'll take some time to load. Let's go back to our article here, scroll down. So now next, we just want to go to we want to make sure that we're in our domain settings, which we'll see here, domain settings, right, which is correct, and our domain name, which is there. So now we'll hit DNS and go back to our article. So it said to go ahead and hit DNS and go to manage zones. Let's go back to manage zones. From clicking that, it's going to prompt this screen here, domain name. So now it says to go ahead and search for your domain name. And just by even typing in one letter, you should see that your domain name pops up. So for instance, lotsofcashoffers.com, that pops up and I click it. So now we're in the DNS management section of our domain, which is exactly where our records tell us to be. And now we want to locate this record section. So let's go ahead and do that right here. So this is the bulk of our work right now when we're working with our domain. And just keep in mind that this section right here, where it says CNAME record, that's going to be what we're working with. But again, that'll be highlighted in the article here. So within the CNAME, you'll want to go ahead and hit this edit button. And your host should be www, and you're pointing to the investmentdominator.com. Then you'll see your TTL section. And TTL stands for time to load. So your time to load, we want to set to custom, and your seconds, go ahead and put at 600. Again, this will be explained directly in the article here. Then, when you're done, go ahead and hit save. So when you're done, you can hit save. For this example, I already have this information, so I'll hit cancel. Now let's go back. So this section here, I'm seeing a lot of tickets about this section here, so please keep in mind, if you want to work on the forwarding for your website, then this section is going to be of utmost importance to you. So after you're done pointing your CNAME record, then you want to work on your forwarding for your domain. So looks like all we have to do is go to our record section, which we're here, scroll down, and you'll see an option that says forwarding over here. So within this right here, go ahead and click the edit button. Then you'll be prompted with that new window. In the forward to, you want to make sure that you select HTTP. You're not selecting HTTPS because when you're working with the Investment Dominator, we actually have a way for you to get security on your website without having to pay outside services. So just keep that in mind and do not buy security if you are just buying your new domain for the first time. So now you just type in your domain name, so www.lotsofcashoffers.com, and then the forward type we're going to select as permanent, as well as setting our settings to forward only. Again, this is all reflected here on the article. The only section that is not is this section down below, which says update my name servers and DNS settings to support this change. Instead, GoDaddy actually does this automatically. So just kind of keep that in mind. Next, hit save. And then we'll actually hit cancel because we've already have this done. So now you finished everything on your domain provider website, and you are now pointed to the Investment Dominator. So the next section is actually going into the Investment Dominator to map your domain. And let's go ahead back to our Investment Dominator, which I believe is here, and let's go to Customize. And again, I'm working with my selling site, so I'm going to hit Website Settings Selling, but the process is the same for both. So you'll see here your domain, which is, what it was defaulted to. We're actually going to copy our domain name here. And we're going to go back into the Investment Dominator. Let me close. Actually, we still need this. Yeah, then I'll go to change your domain. And then you could enter your new selling site domain here, which I already copied over. So lotsofcashoffers.com. And again, this is directed to you here, as well as in the article. So where were we? Here. So then, and it asks you for a question. Have you pointed your custom domain to the Investment Dominator via CNAME record? And that's basically the process that we just did now. So we can go ahead and confirm that and hit next. So one more chance, it'll tell us our old selling site domain as well as our new selling site domain. Then we'll hit confirm. This may take some time, but this is basically going to connect our new domain, and because we pointed our CNAME record, then the Investment Dominator is able to be picked up, and basically everything else needed for the procedure to follow is gone into accordance, and the back end is just making sure that everything is lining up so that our new domains can be secured. Well, actually, our new domains can be changed. The security part comes directly after we get a confirmation that our selling site was changed. You'll see here, the domain was changed. Please use your new domain to access again. So normally it will just say OK. Well, normally it would say actually generate your SSL instead of just hitting OK. But I already generated my security before, so this option changes. But you'll see here we have lotsofcashoffers.com. So just go ahead and update your site, and that will be reflected. But one thing that I do want to show you guys is, let's say by accident you actually skip that section to generate your SSL. What you could actually do is just come over here to our user guide and type in SSL. And the first article here, generate and install your SSL certificate for your custom domain. This article will basically walk you through the process as to number one, to make sure you get this lock on your website. And once you get this lock, you'll notice that your website, in terms of search engine optimization, which is something that you want to have a high amount of. And the best way to do that is getting this lock. So it basically means that your information is secured when you're browsing this site. So Google ranks these websites higher. Do keep in mind, so this process kind of walks over that. But you'll see here when you're changing your buying site domain, instead of just hitting the OK option, actually go ahead here to click and secure your domain. You'll be prompted to another window to which you can actually hit the button to generate your SSL. And it'll basically do that for free. So just keep that in mind, and once that's done, you may notice let's say a 24-hour window where they'll take some time in order to reflect the changes on your website. So just kind of keep that in mind. Sometimes it's immediate, sometimes it is not. It just all really depends. But yeah, so that's the last section that we're going to go over right now regarding that. And now we're going to open the floor to any available questions that we have. I do see that we have some already there, as well as kind of first, I did say that I was going to go over kind of where you can see the previous recordings. So keep in mind, you're on the Monday session right now. Thank you all for signing up. And if you want to actually sign up for our Thursday sessions here, which Thursday at noon, this is going to be a complete 1 hour dedicated to all your questions and our answers, and you can go ahead and sign up for that there. But if you wanted to actually review replays of previous recordings that we've had, you'll actually notice that if you click that button, you can see right here all of our old training calls that we have. So just keep in mind, this is a Monday call, for instance. So our Monday calls are going to break up into these sections, as well as our questions afterwards. And for instance, on our Thursday calls, our Thursday calls, for instance, on 6/17, then we just go over completely into some questions. So just kind of keep that in mind, and let's go ahead and see what questions we have today. So let's go ahead and review this information. All right. So we have a question from Doug Fisher, and he's asking if our print name is in color, does it cost more in printing? Yes, as far as, when you're working with your printing in general, of course, the black default font is going to be the cheapest option, number one, for your, if you're, let's say, working at home with your local printer. You'll notice it's moderately cheaper, as well as using your colored ink. So just kind of keep that in mind. But the big difference is really when you're sending out these neutral letters, and let's say you have 1,000 neutral letters which you're sending out to prospects. When you change your signature color to blue, for instance, or any font color of that matter in your mailings, this is going to drive up the cost of I'd say the cost per letter to sending your mailing. So hopefully that answers your question. And who sees the company email name is another question that we have here. So the company email name, that will be shown on some documents, but just kind of keep that in mind. Again, we'll go over here. Company information. So company email will be noted. It'll also be noted as a primary means to contact you for your business. So it does not matter at all if you're using a gmail.com or Outlook or whatever you may see. Just make sure that you can best be reached, at that email for your business. So just keep that in mind. But hopefully that answers your question. And another question here from Aaron. For the company name, if I don't have an LLC yet, do I put DBA, then my name, or DBA and then the company name that I am incorporating? Oh, that's a great question. So no, for instance, your actual company name, you're gonna want to have listed here along with the LLC. But when you're working with the DBA, you're just gonna want to keep that as your name. Um, you know, once you officially get your company name in the wraps, then that's kind of something that you can change here. But let's say, for instance, if you're just worried about getting your first mailing sent out, then this will be fine, DBA for right now. So you won't really have to worry too much about that. Hopefully that answers your question. And let's see if we have anything here. It says, we have another question from Doug. It says, after we have a domain name and point it to the Investment Dominator, do we choose one of the websites at this time? So we have a domain name, point it to the Investment Dominator, do we choose one of the websites at this time? I'm not really sure I follow what you're saying, Doug, on that question, but basically, you're going to want to have both of your domains. So I'll actually go back to the GoDaddy section in general. So for instance, when I scroll down here, you'll see domains. So you're going to want to have both your domains here. So your buying and your selling website, and then you'll do the process for both. But these names for your domains are actually like what's going to be involved with what you're working with and the Investment Dominator. So just keep that in mind there. So that's kind of what that name purpose is there for. But I think to even go into more detail about that, you're selecting your domains and you're basically, linking these domains to the Investment Dominator. And once you do that, then all of the access for your websites, for instance, your buying and your selling website, so all the individual functionality is going to be alive because you've linked 2 new domains to those. So for instance, you'll see here, if I click on my website settings selling, and I look at my selling site, then you'll notice a website like this that generates. And just keep in mind that I do have some properties here that are listed, so you'll kind of see that there. But yours, you might just see normally here are a few deals, I think, for instance. But yeah. Again, yeah, that should answer your question. So now, let's see. We have another question from Poonam, it looks like, and she's saying, why do we have to connect the website to Investment Dominator? What is the result of it? So another question about that. So great. So I'll kind of break that down even further. So for instance, your buying site is going to be completely dedicated to all your buying site needs. For instance, you can choose themes, and this is kind of why you need a domain paired up with this, because you'll have all this access, as well as changing your site to make it look as either basically user-friendly or whatever you may want, and such things as adding it. But we offer a lot of customization in the realm of working with your websites. So you can actually build them out yourself, or you could have somebody build them for you. And this would only be possible if you link a domain. So for instance, you'll have all of this in the beginning. So my buying site is not set up. For instance, I'll go to my buying site here. When people are accessing my buying site, you'll kind of notice there's buttons here, home, sell your land, or contact us, as well as to get a cash offer now for your property. So we're going to be sending these neutral letters, and people are going to be visiting these websites that we've had prepared. So number one, that's why we want to get our security down packed, but that's also why we want to have our website URL names set up rather than sending out your mailing and having a domain like this. This is default provided by the Investment Dominator. So for instance, when we looked at our selling site, go back here again, the user is being presented to lotsofcashoffers.com, which looks official, as well as having a logo here, a call us number at, and buy properties at wholesale. So when you're buying these domains, the websites are basically configured to work because they're pointed to the Investment Dominator. So all the properties and all the formatting can be changed directly because you took that domain and pointed it to us. So as a result of that, you have customization options, you have a lot of things that you can kind of work with, as well as changing your theme, changing any banner text that you have available, or adding any additional text, as well as creating your own pages and blog posts. So lot of usability, and we definitely go over that on our Thursday calls, which is our more advanced section. So just kind of keep that in mind. But let's see here. Okay, so we have another question from Doug. It looks like he's clarifying what he was saying before. So if both domains are pointing to ID and setup and done, do we choose the website now, the lady with the money, or a land sign on it? Okay, so I think I understand more what you're saying now. So let's kind of go into that. So when we go into customize and we're done with our websites, then if we click on buying, you'll notice right here is what Doug is talking about. So we have two buying site themes by default, and this can either go to our legacy theme here or our 2.0 theme. So again, these are by default, and you'll notice these three themes down here are actually custom themes. So just keep that in mind. On your Investment Dominator, you may only be seeing this legacy and this 2.0 theme. For instance, this kind of option is really all up to you. This is about how you want to customize your Investment Dominator and your buying site. So you do have the option of either our legacy theme or our 2.0 theme. Our legacy theme was proven and tested, and we have a great track record with this, but our 2.0 theme is just us going in and refreshing that, and this has been proven and tested as well. So whichever one you may like more is kind of up to you. But for instance, let's go ahead and take a look at our legacy theme for our buying site. Go ahead, back to our buying site. And this is our legacy theme. And let's say, for instance, that's okay, but let's go back to our buying site. And we have a custom theme. So ones that we've already uploaded, and these are by default. We provide these in the articles within Investment Dominator. For instance, I could click on Blue Oceans right here, go down to update our site. And once it's updated, we'll go to websites, we'll go to our buying site, and bam, our new and improved custom theme is now here. So now if you're wondering how you can actually get this theme for your own buying site, that's great question. We'll actually go over that right now. So if you go to your help section of the Investment Dominator and you go to search or user guide, you can go ahead and type in your buying site, or just type in buying site together. And just keep in mind, when you are working with the Investment Dominator in this section specifically, try to search for keywords only. So, land, selling, etc. I'll go into that a little bit after I show you guys our buying site themes. So click over here to our buying site theme. And right here, this is basically a whole article on how you can, number one, develop your own themes, or number two, if you wanted to create your own custom themes, you could actually go ahead and do that as well. So for this example, though, we have our sample buying site themes. So this is again where we have our teal profits, our blue ocean, and our red black. This article is going to be jam-packed on everything you need to know to create your own custom theme, as well as how to upload our custom theme that we have here. And again, you're primarily, if you're working on this yourself and you're trying to create your own theme, you're going to be working with our merge fields that we have down here, which is going to be pulling information from the Investment Dominator. So, when you're creating your custom documents and you're working with anything with your websites, having a separate domain for both is going to be needed in order to get this done. So for instance, I'll show you guys a quick example of let's download red black, for instance. And you'll notice when you hit download, it'll actually present you with the zip file in your downloads. So let's go back to our Investment Dominator, which is here. And now we're going to go to customize. We're going to go to our buying site, and we're going to upload a custom theme. I'll go ahead and remove this one for right now. So let's go to upload custom theme, and it should be in the downloads. Red black is there, and bam, our theme was uploaded correctly. So let's go ahead and view this. So now you'll see here our red black. We'll select it and we'll go down to update site. Let's go ahead to websites, buying site. When we click on it, bam. So our new uploaded custom theme now shows, and it is now good to go. So do keep in mind, in order for this functionality to work, having your two separate domains will help. And you don't want to have this default name. You want to have your own custom domain here, especially a name that matches your business. So do keep that in mind, and hopefully that answers your question. So let's see what else we have here. All right. Let's see, we have a question from James about his domain. So James is presented with a, it looks like a dilemma with his domain. So, while we don't want to dive too much into specific cases because we have tickets for that, one thing I want to direct you to, James, is actually our help section here. If you're having trouble with setting up your domains at all, there is another way to kind of get support besides the call. Of course, we recommend using the provider GoDaddy, but do keep in mind that when we're working with your domain, the pointing to your CNAME record is going to be of utmost importance. So that's kind of the whole basis as to why you're doing that. So that, while it looks different on each website, the process kind of remains the same. But if you're really running into a lot of trouble and you're stuck as to what to do next, you can always create a support ticket here. A lot of the times we direct to articles here, but as well as we provide additional troubleshooting in case if you are having an issue with your website. So for instance, you can go ahead here and say, I'm having trouble setting up my domain. I use GoDaddy, and my domain is this. Can you please help? Something along that lines. More details that you provide will also be more helpful in getting a solution to you, of course. But do keep in mind when you're branching away from GoDaddy, of course, using Namecheap or any other options like that. We don't yet have articles directly about those, so we're going to have to take more time onto those cases specifically. But most of the technicality really comes from the other side and not really with the Investment Dominator. So that pointing to the CNAME record is a real big focus, as well as your forwarding section too, to have your domains properly link up. For instance, I think our selling site might be ready. I think I may be able to actually test that option right after this. But so you would basically, you could either drop a link to the issue if you want, but platform you use, very important. Browser you use, also very important as well too for troubleshooting. And the priority of your ticket. So if you see a 24-hour response or an important, which is 48 hours, or normal, which is 72 hours. Do keep in mind you can also attach a file if necessary, a picture as such. So James, for instance, the picture of the screen, you will definitely note from that. You can put that in this file as well, and then you could create a new ticket. So we have here another question. What's the best way to get familiar with the Investment Dominator? So honestly, to get familiar with the Investment Dominator, these calls are a great kind of way to get you introduced and get you warmed up and ready. So that Monday call will take care of that, but the Thursday call is also great if you just kind of want to reinforce some additional kind of advanced methods, as well as just really any questions that you kind of have. That's really your best bet for trying to get it in touch with it. But if you can't make those sessions, for instance, this right here, when you go to your support center and you click help, you'll notice you have Quick Start Video 1, Quick Start 2, Quick Start 3, and Quick Start 4. This, pretty much walks you through what we did, the first big three, as well as any other, I believe in 3 and 4. It goes more into customizing your websites, so do keep that in mind. So I'd watch these videos, and just going through the process itself of working through the Investment Dominator, what you'll notice is that our user guide will be, your best friend in these regards. So if you actually go over here back to our user guide, and you click it. So this is kind of how to get familiar with everything right away. I would say to kind of stick through some of these articles here. So for instance, we have a general tab, and the general tab will give you kind of general information that you have with the Investment Dominator, as well as any features that you may know. So besides the 4 quick start videos as well, we created another campaign option. So you'll see this quick start guide. If you actually just type into our user guide quick start, you'll notice 3 articles here. So along with those 4 articles that you saw, or sorry, those 4 videos that you saw, those are all videos. These 3 are definitely a good reinforcement to welcome you into the Investment Dominator, going over everything and breaking it down, as well as having these, these calls. This will definitely get you warmed up to the Investment Dominator. And, you'll kind of see that go over through on all these articles. So this all should really reinforce everything, but the best that comes with the Investment Dominator is really from doing. So just keep that in mind. And again, if you want to focus more on land here, you do have some more options as well. So one thing I want to say is we are about almost out of time here. We'll see if we can answer maybe one more question if I see it here. Yeah, so we have a question here from David, and David's asking, which browser do you recommend using for the Investment Dominator and websites? As far as really when using, I think usability within the Investment Dominator, the best browser, I would say, in my opinion, is Google Chrome. But again, functionality does work for Microsoft Edge or Firefox. I think Chrome does have easier troubleshooting in our regards, so that's kind of where my preference goes. The least kind of usability I do think is when you start to use Safari and such. So when you're using iPads, maybe especially too, there may be a little bit of a more margin for error because it's not really as compatible with that, but just kind of keep that in mind. But Chrome is, I would say Chrome is the option for that. But all right, so we are on our last few minutes here, and as with every call, I want to go ahead and actually end on a quote. And our quote here today is from Eleanor Roosevelt, and the quote goes, "I believe that anyone can conquer fear by doing the things he fears to do, provided he keeps doing them until he gets a record of successful experience behind him." So, the Investment Dominator involves a lot of endurance and just kind of working through and fine-tuning all of your individual pieces to make sure that your puzzle is complete. And by doing this and by taking the chances to take these calls in and reading these articles and getting up to date on all the information that you need, you're reinforcing yourself so that you can improve your future. As with all hopes of the Investment Dominator, we do want you to be as most successful as you can be. And from doing that, you are backed by a community, not only of user guide articles, but your fellow, let's say, classmates here too, as well as support like us in IT and, any other people that may be involved with your journey. But do keep in mind that things will take time and you will eventually see some progress made just from being persistent and just from keeping up. So don't lose hope and keep pushing forward. But again, this was our Monday call. I want to thank you all for tuning in and thank you all for your questions so much. And really looking forward to our Thursday call. Please come prepared with some questions, and we'll get ready to go ahead and take a look into that and break it down. But again, thank you all for tuning in tonight, and I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.